My buddy Art Del Cueto is joining me now on the Scott Sands Show, spokesperson, National Border Patrol Council, and host of the Green Line podcast, which you can find wherever you get your podcasts. And Art, you spent the weekend with the president once again in a big, it looked like it was a huge rally at Coachella.
I'll tell you, well, I was actually at the rally in Prescott, Arizona is where I was at. The Coachella one was humongous. I had friends out there, but obviously I spoke at the one in Arizona, and I can tell you it was equally as huge. And I hadn't seen this before, but now what they're doing is they're having to put these big screens outside of the arenas because they can't contain so many people that are still there. So yesterday alone, the inside of the arena was full, and outside the parking lot, there was a lot of individuals out there watching and listening on the big screens in the parking lot. So it's really caught on. It's a huge wave, and I just hope it gets. It's shown in the polls, and also it's shown come election in at the beginning of November, because that's what it's going to take. Look, this administration that we're under has completely destroyed any type of law and order that we've had on our nation's borders. And I've said it many times before. I've had the pleasure and honor to say it on your show. The drug cartels are the only ones that are making money off of this right now, hand over foot. And they realize that under this administration, everything's been ignored. So they just continue to bring in as many individuals into the country. And if you ask the administration, they don't even know who they are or how many people they've allowed in.
And there are a lot of alarming facts about the Biden-Harris immigration policy. But one of the more alarming stories that we've learned is that we as a country came within about a month of a deadly Election Day terror attack after Vice President Harris, the border czar, let this Afghan national into the United States with this plot for a terror attack on American soil on Election Day.
No, you're absolutely right, man. I'll tell you what. So they apprehended this guy. So this is my big worry, and I don't want to, be a fearmonger or scare people, but people need to be aware. They need to be, vigilant, watch their six at all times, make sure, if they see anything weird, contact, any type of law enforcement immediately, because they apprehended this guy, just like you said. But you know what? They've allowed millions in this country, and they don't know who they are, and they don't know where they're at. So, you know what? One was caught. It's fantastic. But are there more? We don't know, and that's part of the problem.
Should we be, as average, ordinary, law-abiding citizens, be more concerned about the potential for a terror group to be in our country? And I guarantee you that there are one or more terror cells that have already infiltrated this country with the borders as porous as they are. Should we be concerned about that more, or what's happening in cities like Aurora, Colorado, or in Dallas, Texas, where this Venezuelan gang seems to be taking over, brutally attacking apartment complexes? Home invasions are happening in more than one city as these Venezuelan gangs continue to spread.
Unfortunately, under the current administration and what they've allowed and what they know they've allowed, I think it's both. We have to be vigilant all around because, like I said, look, it's been so easy under this administration to come across the border, ask for asylum, and get released. Can you just imagine, okay, how horrific the intentions or the criminal background is on the individuals that have circumvented that way and are the gotaways that have gotten into the country? They can't even, claim asylum and get released. Their record are so bad, or their intentions. So we should absolutely be extremely careful, extremely vigilant and alert, because as I've said, it's been easy to claim asylum and get released. The intentions of those that have not even turned themselves in and have claimed asylum, we just don't know.
Art Del Cueto on the Scott Sands Show, host of the Green Line podcast, spokesperson for the National Border Patrol Council, which endorsed officially Donald Trump over the weekend. What can you tell us, Art, about the gang that's getting all the headlines right now, Tren de Aragua?
So Tren de Aragua is very, it's scary to talk about them, and I'll tell you why, because it's hard to describe them. Before, when we would talk about other gangs, they'd have different signs, different tattoos, a way of dressing, whatever it may be. But these individuals from Venezuela, Tren de Aragua, which I consider a terrorist gang organization, they don't have the typical, tattoos or dressing a certain way where, they probably would follow a certain professional sports team. These individuals, you just can't tell. And I think that's what makes it even scarier, that they're able to just intermingle and mix with the regular day individuals, and we won't know who they are or what their intentions are. I think that's what makes it even more dangerous. You can't really pin them out.
What's their motivation? Are they bringing drugs across the border? Are they human trafficking?
Everything. Look, they're criminals. It's a criminal organization. It's a huge criminal organization. They want to expand their organization. Crime. They attract other crime. Anything that they can do to make money, that's what they're involved in. Extortion, drugs, human smuggling, anything that's going to make them money, they're going to get involved with. And I've often said they're like the Mara Salvatrucha from El Salvador on steroids. And that's part of the problem. In their own country, they've green-lit several law enforcement, which means, it's been an open book on being able to target them and kill them. And they realize that they don't have any consequences down there. So they're a very, very dangerous group of individuals that are in the country now.
I'm certainly not a gang expert, but I've studied what's happened with gangs in our country for a while. And it seems to me, and maybe this is an oversimplification of the problem, Art, but to me, it seems like Tren de Aragua, and I know I'm pronouncing that wrong. Just forgive me. I have no Hispanic accent.
You're doing good.
And MS-13 behave differently than what we're used to seeing with gang activity with the Bloods and the Crips and other local gangs that have their territory. And sure, there's territorial disputes every once in a while that get violent, but they've also been business people. They're conducting business to make money. MS-13 and this new Venezuelan gang are moving in and trying to take over violently territory where other gangs have worked or where there have been no gangs in the past.
Right, and I think what the difference is when you've seen gangs in the United States, and obviously, we're not blind to it. We've seen gangs that exist in the U.S. Throughout different major cities. A lot of them, they fight for the territory and those neighborhoods that they have. But when you're looking at these individuals like Tren de Aragua or Mara Salvatrucha, these are, international crime organizations, and they're willing to work with anybody and anyone that'll bring drugs or just make money. That's what they want to. So it is not far-fetched to say these individuals would be perfectly comfortable dealing with some huge terrorist organization and making money and bringing them into the U.S. because they don't care what lives in America are damaged. And look, they've been wreaking havoc in Venezuela. So let's be honest, they don't care what lives are damaged in their own country that they come from. Like, they just want to make money.
I don't know if this is something you can speak about, Art, but obviously we're watching as a country the recovery efforts from two major hurricanes in the past 3 weeks, Hurricane Helene, Hurricane Milton, and now Secretary Mayorkas, who I know you're a big fan of, Art, is saying that FEMA's out of money. They don't have enough funding to assist in hurricane relief. But we know that FEMA has spent nearly $1 billion on illegal immigrants in the past year. What are you saying? And not even doing, from what we know of the immigration shelters in states like yours, Art, not even doing a good job in sheltering and caring for the migrants that come across illegally.
I think it just shows the mismanagement that this administration has caused in different fields and in different areas. They've mismanaged the border. Now it's obvious they've mismanaged parts of the budget when it comes to Americans needing help because they've utilized it on, individuals that have entered illegally into the country. Do you really want to give any of these people 4 more years to wreak more havoc in our country?
Art Del Cueto on the Scott Sand Show. National Border Patrol Council officially endorsed Donald Trump. Why? I mean, I think the reasons are pretty damn obvious, but I'd love to hear from you. Reasons for the endorsement.
He's always been our guy.
Yeah.
Scott, he's always been our guy. He's been our guy for a long time. He reached out to us many, many years ago when he first was running the first time. He wanted to know what the boots on the ground were feeling and what they were doing out here and what he can do to help if he was elected. He was elected, and when he was president, he continued that line of communication. We constantly were speaking with him. I've been at the White House several times and spoke to him on a lot of the issues. Sometimes we just speak about family because, the relationship has evolved. I put something up on my Instagram where we were just joking around up on stage at one point. And that's the relationship that he's had. He really cares. He wants to know what's going on. I didn't think, what's funny, at some point I was like, well, we're going to endorse him. Well, what do we need to endorse him? The country knows we're behind him. But, I think it was important that the country realized it. And I'll tell you where we came to that decision, because everyone knows we're behind him. Everyone knows he's our guy. He knows it. Everyone does. We've made it very obvious. But there was a while ago that when President Biden was running for office still before he was removed And he went up on stage during one of his debates and he said that the Border Patrol Council was endorsing him, which was a complete lie. And now we've heard Kamala Harris come out and say in an interview that she was responsible for a raise that Border Patrol agents received, and she was the one that pushed that raise, which is also a lie. So we said, hey, let's jump on it and let people know we're endorsing President Trump and make it official before the other side starts saying that we're endorsing them and start lying about that again.
Yeah, well, and we've heard Kamala Harris on the campaign trail and Tim Walz on the campaign trail blaming Donald Trump, blaming Republican candidates like Mike Rogers, Bernie Moreno for not voting in favor of what they claim to be the most conservative immigration bill in history, Border Patrol bill. And
right, and let's be honest,
because I'll with it.
Right, and I'll talk about it because it's the elephant in the room that, people are going to hear this interview and try to attack you and attack me on it. The National Council, the leadership at the time, they did endorse the bill. They wanted it to go up before Congress, and they wanted to get some of the amendments done. We realized that the amendments weren't probably going to get done because these people, they don't care to fix the problem, and it went away now. But the real border bill that's up there is H.R. 2. Why haven't they paid attention to that one?
Yeah, that's the one I think everybody, every Republican would get behind for sure. And I think even some Democrats recognizing the problem that we've got with immigration on our border would say, yeah, it's time to be tough and go this way. And hopefully under the leadership of President Trump and a change in congressional leadership, perhaps H.R. 2 will move forward finally. Art, it's always great to have you on, my friend.
Thank you, Scott. I appreciate it. And people need to realize, hey, we cannot be surviving as a country with 4 more years of this administration. We need that change.
Our thoughts are always with you and your fellow agents. Stay safe.
Thank you. God bless.